You know, Keelan Russell's gotten to be such a big name. Now we're impressed by the freshman he's impressed by.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and I'll talk about FanDuel in just a bit. I want to thank you every day for being every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. Thanks, everybody, for making your first listen every day. Jimmy Bama Online came out with a very interesting article about hey, who does Keelan Russell think is awesome? Because we know he's awesome, so why even bring that up? I think that's kind of interesting. And look, I think it's great in a way that we're already talking about how awesome he is. I'm almost switching back to, are we overlooking Ty Simpson that much?
I think what it is Keelan went to a thing where the media had some level of access to him. He went home and worked out at his high school with his people or his trainer, and the media has access to him there. They would not if he was at Alabama. So, like, for instance, for some that don't know how this works, after a few select practices, Alabama Sports Information makes a few guys available to the media for a post-practice press conference, and Alabama picks that stuff out. But there's kind of a pattern, there's not necessarily rules, but they don't send freshmen up there. They don't send anyone that's been controversial lately. They're just trying to not make it noisy, So Keelan won't be, no way. I don't even think Ty will be made available to the media. I might be wrong about the Ty thing, but I think when players are competing for a position, they don't want them subjected to, are you winning? Are you winning the battle? Are you playing well? Tell me something bad about who you're competing against. I mean, I think that, so this was, a chance to talk to Keelan, and Charlie Potter has a thing up on BOL with Keelan's quotes in it. And y'all should check that out if you get an opportunity, but it's Keelan being asked, hey, who's impressed you, especially in your group?
Yeah, and one of the ones he brings up is, ironically, another guy we're super fired up about, and that's Latsier Brooks. I mean, and the other guy is another guy we're super fired up, and that's Dijon Lee.
Just shows you we're fired up about the right guys, right?
Yeah, we are fired up about the right guys, number one. But number two, you talk about two guys on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Brooks is like 5'9", 190. Dijon Lee is 6'4", I don't know what,
6'4". He's probably 6'3" and change, 200, which is nuts for a corner. Just nuts.
That's nuts for a cornerback. But
yeah, I saw him in person at Bama. Where did I see him? Rammer Jammers. The breakfast and lunch place by the stadium. I saw Dijon there. He's you would not guess. He looks like a linebacker, really. I mean, I guess he's a little thin for that, but he does look like a linebacker. I think, though, by Keelan naming Latsier Brooks and Dijon Lee as the two that have stood out to him, you take that opinion super seriously, though, because here's Keelan, who's throwing to Latsier,
right?
Who's also throwing against the DBs, so he's getting a good look at these guys. It's not like he just randomly said, hey, I peeked in on what the offensive linemen are doing, and I sort of like Micah Debo's. No, he's talking about what he knows, who he's throwing to, who he's throwing against. I would put a lot of credence into those two names. Plus, their names, me and Luke have already told you guys, had been impressive to more than just Keelan in the early practices. And gosh, how big would it be that these guys live up to the hype and more? Because me and you have hyped the heck out of these guys. Dijon Lee's got 5 stars, which justifies his hype. But, we've been high on Latsier Brooks since the first time we saw his tape.
I guess that does make sense. It would be weird if he said, who's impressed me? Yeah, Mika Dubose, or that punter, astronaut.
Yeah.
Astronautov. What's his name?
Asperov.
Yeah.
Asperov.
Look, I'm thinking about astronauts. We're going up to save some astronauts.
Even a better answer. Did I what?
Did we get the astronauts today? The ones that were up there in space like for 9 months? They're
supposed to be there
they're
supposed to be back today, right?
There 9 months.
We forgot to pick them up like kids at soccer practice. Forgot to pick them up.
You think they were like hitting the Uber button and it kept saying searching for driver in your area, searching for rocket in your area?
Know what would have been the best answer though for like who's impressed you? What if Keelon had said, "I'll tell you the best player practice is the walk-on punter Blake Dowd, and he came from the Colorado School of Mines and almost went there. They offered me this massive NIL deal. I didn't even know what School of Mines was, but they offered me like 7 figures."
It'd be even cooler if he said, "You know who's good? That punter from the School of Mines. He's a real gem."
I see what you did.
You see what I did there? He's what they call a diamond in the rough.
I liked our original idea better. School of Mimes.
School of Mimes was
so much better than the School of
Mines. He's just out there fake punting, like without the ball.
Not one word has been spoken at the School of Mimes in years. The whole curriculum is just silently acted out.
And even if a coach yells at him and say, he's like, "What are you doing? They didn't even snap the ball, and you acted like they snapped the ball. We get a false start. What are you doing?" And the guy's going,
"Well, you do that. Yeah, you do that often on the show." And secondly, another great thing is it's a great excuse for when you fumble. So it's like, how'd you drop that snap? I was trapped in a glass box.
It hit the outside of my glass box.
It hit the outside of the glass box.
Yeah, he's from the School of Moms. I'm from the School of Mutes. All right, but so okay, if Latsier Brooks and Dijon Lee are impressing this much, do you feel even better now that these two are going? I already felt like Dijon Lee was going to play a lot. I was a little not concerned about Latsier Brooks playing. I want to see him. But I'm thinking like with Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and of course Ingram. Oh my God, my dog's going crazy. But I have this dog in here, and I think, hang on a second, let me just let him out. You talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, we'll talk. Luke's dog, definitely not a mime because he makes too much noise. He failed right out of dog mime school. But I think Latsier Brooks and Dijon Lee are in this category of freshmen. I too think I also believe they will play this fall. But I also think that they're not necessary to play because we have 2 good corners that are back. We've got 2 great receivers that are back. They're not going to jump in front of those dudes. That's not going to happen. I don't even know that they'll be the 3rd guy because we got guys like Isaiah Horton and Jalen Hale at wide receiver. We got a 3rd corner, in Cam Calhoun, who's also been a big story, I think, so far in spring practice. But there's this other category, Luke, which is just too good to keep off the field. They'll just find a way to get Latsier Brooks and Dijon Lee involved. I think they're just too good. And even worse, I hate saying this out loud because it might be the number one thing that drives me crazy about this new college football world. Maybe you have to find a way to play them so they don't get in the portal, but and they don't get frustrated and leave. So maybe you got to find snaps for them in that sense. And I hate that because the best players should play and freshmen should play when they're ready. Don't play them because you're afraid that they're going to get in the portal. But to some extent, it is a reality, right? So
you know what that's like? That's like dating somebody and you're not ready, but everybody says, she might be marriage material. She might leave you if you don't marry. But if you're not ready, if you aren't ready, then it's not going to work. Like it. You'll have contempt early on. I'm not speaking from experience or anything like that, but
but sometimes you got to put them on lockdown, even though you're still holding out hope that Marissa Tomei is into bald, fat, quirky guys. I think is what she was into.
Bald, stubby. Was it stubby? What was it? I don't remember.
Stocky. It was stocky. Bald, stocky, and quirky. I think quirky was a word in there too.
Bald and quirky and stocky. How are you not thinking?
Because Marissa Tomei's into that. So you gotta be worried about that.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about Factor. I'm telling you, y'all think I'm nuts. I'm seeing Factor commercials all over the place now. And I love they always come up on the YouTube videos and they show that picture of like the steak and all these cut up bread and yellow bell peppers. Man, that thing looks delicious. I'm going to sign up for this thing. I'm telling you. Eating healthy doesn't have to be complicated with Factor. You get chef-made, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. So you can fuel your body without the hassle of cooking. Factor meals arrive fresh, never frozen, and with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences each week. You can customize your menu to fit your goals, whether that's calorie smart, protein plus, or keto. Convenience meets nutrition. I love how Factor keeps you on track with healthy, delicious meals without the time-consuming prep. It's awesome. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Can't beat it with a stick, y'all. We're giving you deals over here and helping you out. We're also going to help you out with Supply House because it's also great. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skills trades. That's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest and the best product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from more than 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks. It's awesome. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. That's supplyhouse.com/TM, supplyhouse.com/TM, and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, so recruiting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, still a thing. We've got some big visitors coming in tomorrow I think we said in the podcast earlier today that practice starts today, but I don't know if we just got confused. It's actually tomorrow.
And partly it's confusing because of the schedule of our podcast. A lot of times we cut the podcast and then it comes out tomorrow. So I'm not sure if I'm telling you guys about something today or telling you guys about something tomorrow. But so we practice on Tuesday and Thursday. They can't practice Wednesday this week because of the pro day. Pro day is going to be indoors, takes up a big chunk of the day. Everybody says they don't want to be practicing on Wednesday. So this week it's Tuesday and Thursday. Next week they go to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday type thing.
Yeah, and there are some huge visitors that are going to be visiting. Not the least of which is Jamarian Matthews, who is a commitment, and we don't need to forget about that he's a commitment. We need to laud him with praise. There's also top 100 safety Caden Hall.
Yep.
But he's being recruited as a linebacker.
Yeah, he's being compared to by our staff, and this is, I'll be honest, I don't want to disagrry with our staff because that's dumb. Listen to them, not me. But they compare him to Jihad Campbell. And when I watch the tape, I mean, first of all, I love Caden. I don't get the positional comp. Now they obviously know what they're talking about. They coach Jihad, but that's what they're comparing him to. And the kid likes what he's hearing, even though you might think, well, safety probably wants to stick at safety. He's intrigued by Alabama. This is a national top 100 player. He has a great frame. Again, from Pensacola, which is just a kick-ass area this year. I mean, there's multiple great players from the Pensacola area in this class. Caden Hall is one of them. I mean, this is a national top 100 guy. Again, our staff compares him to Jihad Campbell. They love him. He'll be on campus watching practice Tuesday. He's also been to Alabama multiple times. This is one to watch. Alabama staff has always felt this way. And I'm not talking about this new staff. Previous staffs, this staff, all of them. They think the trick to getting players is getting them on campus as many times as possible. The more a player visits, the more likely that they are to get him. That's the way they feel. That's not a rule across the board because I think Peter Woods visited Alabama 497 times and still went to Clemson. But we'll just call that an exception to the rule.
Yeah, that's right. And another guy that's visiting is Edward Baker. Now, this one's kind of interesting. He's not ranked, but he's from St. Francis in Baltimore, which is like just cranking out talent like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, that's a big-time program.
And so this guy is a 6'4", 315-pound lineman. Is that right?
He's an interior lineman, and keep in mind, this is the word that they're, and they've talked about it. Bone has talked about it quite a bit at BOL and Tim Watts. They're probably only going to take one more interior guy in this group. You got to remember, last year they signed mostly interior guys. Right now, if you look at their roster, it's mostly interior linemen, not enough tackles. So in this signing class, they want to sign no more than maybe 2 interior linemen and sort of rack up on 2 or even 3 offensive tackles. So they only want one more interior guy. Here's an interior dude, not ranked highly yet, but as we say every time when that happens this time of the year, just hold on. Rankings are in the first quarter of a 4-quarter game. Saying that this kid is not ranked high is kind of like saying that you hate the final score and there's 3 minutes left on the clock in the first quarter. I mean, this is an ongoing process that will not end until next February. So don't get too carried away with ranking talk.
How about this guy, KJ Ford, who is a former teammate of Keelon Russell out in Texas?
Pass rusher.
Pass rusher. And then also Elijah Golden. This is a guy that we've been talking about a little bit from Sarasota, 4-star defensive lineman. And also we call him Captain U, Samuel U2, or U2.
Got U's all over the place. This guy's
he's got U's you can use.
He does. He's got extras. If your name needs a U, go talk to him. He's got extras. But Elijah Golden is exactly the type of kid I read all the time from frustrated Alabama fans. Like, we don't recruit enough defensive linemen. There's not enough defensive linemen. I read that all the time. And okay, well, here's one. And he's not only a defensive lineman, he's a really good blue chip defensive lineman. All the big schools like this guy. He likes Alabama a lot. He'll be at practice. And hey, let's remind people that these are not official visits. When kids come to practice, this is on their own time, on their own dime. A player or a prospect is seriously considering your school when they come to practice. Doesn't mean that you're going to get them. Doesn't mean that you're the favorite, but it means you're on the short list. What are they going to do? Pay to go to 30 practices at 30 different places? No, it means when they're coming on their time, their dime, then they're serious about you. So this is a kid that he's one to watch for sure.
Yeah, really like all the guys that are coming to the visit tomorrow. Now, talk about pro day since you brought it up. Who needs to have a big pro day tomorrow?
I think typically the guys that aren't in the front end of the draft. I mean, I just watched. I just now got watching first draft, the Mel Kiper and Field Yo show, and Mike Greenberg. They were raving about Jod Campbell, raving, and now it appears that Campbell will be the highest Alabama player off the board. I mean, the way Mel was talking and also citing sources within the NFL. I mean, I think Jihad could end up being a top 15 pick, which is amazing for the position he plays. But Tyler Booker's also, as we know, is going to go no worse than early in the second round, but probably a first round pick. And Milroe, it's a big day for him. I think Milroe is in day 2, possibly falling to day 3. And I think pro day for him is about solidifying day 2, which means round 2 or round 3, because that's a lot more money and a lot more prestige and investment than happens in day 3. But I think pro day to me, Luke, for Alabama is really about those day 3 guys. They have to catch the eye of someone, because even though we may lump them into day 3, there is a difference between being drafted in round 4 and round 7. All you got to do is Google how many round 4 guys get cut in camp. Some, but not many. Round 5 guys, no, they make the team, but maybe a few more get cut. Round 6 and round 7 guys get cut all the time. So, and I'm talking about in their first fall camps. So tomorrow or Wednesday's pro day to me is about Malachi, Tim Smith, Q Robinson, CJ Dupree. It's about locking down, hey, I'm a 4th round guy, maybe even someone you should consider in the 3rd, but I'm a 4th round guy. I don't need to be on the board in 6th or 7th round. I'm too good for that. So Malachi, Tim Smith, CJ Dupree, Robbie Oost. Now, his situation is a little different. He wants to be drafted, period. Robbie Oost needs to convince someone, and hey, if you're listening, for you to make a roster or you to get drafted, I think you have to be more than a tight end. You have to convince them that you're a core special teams guy, a guy that's going to play on every special teams unit, maybe even be an emergency long snapper. That sort of stuff can get you that 53rd spot on a roster when you can do more than one thing. NFL rosters are limited. It's not like college where you have 85 guys. In the NFL, you can only have 53 dressed out. You got to have a handful of utility guys that can kind of do everything in case they're needed to do so. I think Robbie is an excellent example of someone who could fill a lot of roles.
We always circle back to FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. And who's cutting down the nets? You can bet on whatever you want to. Seriously. I've got my eye on a few underdogs. I know you do. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. There ain't no waiting around like some kind of sap. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long as the tournament is getting heated up.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
I guess I did that.
Good
right.
job. Yeah, good. Well, you did it right on my end. I saw those guys. Cool concept.
See, the one guy on the right, I guess it was other guys left, but our right, he's kind of got like a Kenny G hair thing going on.
I was going to say the same. Yeah, right. I knew where you were going with that, and I even knew your reference. So, yeah, he does have that going on. It's a unique concept, though, to have all the locked on guys as the experts on the team. Just like, me and Luke will be Alabama, and we got locked on now, I think, for every SEC team. We added Mississippi State.
We did. They got two hosts. They're like us.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what are you trying to copy us? Good luck. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about the NCAA tournament here for a second. I think I mentioned it on the last podcast. 25 of Alabama's 33 games were against NCAA tournament teams.
That's
okay.
Nuts.
That's bananas. And what's funny is I think it was Justin Hoganson, an Auburn beat writer, said, man, Auburn played 24 of their X amount of games were against NCAA tournament teams. I'd like to see somebody else try to do that or something. And yeah. Hunter Johnson said, well, Alabama tried and they actually did one more.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just a little friendly banter. But think about this for a second. I just counted this up. Okay. I should say I just counted this. You never know it's supposed to end on a preposition. But of the number one seeds, Alabama played 5 games against them. Twice against Auburn, twice against Florida, once against Houston. Now, they didn't play Duke. And Auburn did play all 3 other teams, but they only played 4 games. They played us twice, they only played Florida once, and only played Duke once. We played a number 2 seed in Tennessee. We played 2 number 3 seeds. Well, we played a number 3 seed twice in Kentucky. We played 2 number 4 seeds. It was Texas A&M and somebody's escaping me, but it doesn't matter. A number 5 seed, 3 games against number 6s. Weirdly, I don't think we played number 7 seed, unless I miscounted somewhere. 2 games against the number 8s, 3 games against number 9s, 2 games against 10s. We also, one of the games that I decided to stop at 10 because I feel like after 10, you're sort of like, if you're an 11 seed, nah. But North Carolina is essentially an 11. And so I would throw them in this mix. I mean, it's a ridiculous schedule. But, let's everybody get mad at Nate Oats, And I will say this, too. My buddy Brian Passink has no problem bringing this up. You remember when Nate Oats and Bama lost to Western Kentucky several years ago when they were coached by Stansbury? They came to Tuscaloosa. It was like it was right near a holiday, like right after New Year's or right before New Year's or something like that. And I was in a bit of rage when on a Facebook message board thing dedicated to Alabama basketball, I said, maybe Nate Oats isn't who we thought he was. And then, of course, we go on to do all we're doing. And I think the next year we win the SEC and win the tournament. And, my buddy Brian Passing, vividly reminded me of my stupidity. And I'm owning it. I have no choice but to own it. It's on Facebook, but I own it. And I think now here's everybody's chance to own their own Nate Oats stupidity. If you are out there and you're mad at Nate Oats for not recruiting bigger guards or not calling a timeout or not doing this or not doing that, here's your chance right now. Let's have a moment of silence, Jimmy. Let that rage go. We get it. We understand. You've been burned by Alabama basketball in the past. We get it. But we're going to take 3 seconds and let you get that out. Scream as loud as you want to. And then you have to understand we're in the highest of high times for Alabama. So 3 seconds, please. That is super awkward. And I don't even know if it was 3 seconds, but I'm hoping that people out there who are mad, who are upset with Nate Oats for whatever minuscule reason will now understand that we need to get down on our knees and hope this man goes nowhere.
We just played like literally the toughest schedule of all time. It's the toughest schedule of all time, and did it with multiple players missing from the roster. And there are people out there like, we shouldn't ever lose. What? I mean, Reitzel's out, Houston Mount's out, Darion Reed has been out, and he's only back and able to play a few minutes. Now Grant Nelson, who's clearly been banged up for weeks, and now is really banged up. I mean, it's remarkable that Alabama did what they're able to do. Remarkable.
Let's also say that for whatever reason, it feels like Mark Sears just doesn't like Nashville. He just hadn't shot well there, period. His shot was off the other night against Florida. If he had been owned, we still lose that game. I mean, Florida was just we weren't beating Florida that night. I don't think anybody was going to beat Florida.
Sears is also coming back down to earth a little bit. Remember, there was a stretch where the dude was scoring like 35 a night. I think this is, what do they call it, math people?
Correction.
Regression to the, I like correction better, but a regression to the mean. But I think a stock market correction is a better term for that. I mean, you're not going to score 35 every night forever. No one does that unless your name rhymes with LeBron James. Well, I guess your name wouldn't rhyme with LeBron James. I guess it would
Who
rhyme
would have a
with
name that rhymes with LeBron James. So, okay.
LeBron Tames.
So they had a team meeting afterwards, and Nate Oats has come out today, and again, Nate Oats, for people who think he hadn't been good at press conferences, sometimes he's had a misstep or two. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, he's basically said, this is time for our seniors who cannot come back, our super seniors, to step up. This may be the last time they ever play college basketball. It's their time, and
it's their team.
I love putting the ball in that court. I also love his saying, we'd be disappointed with anything short of a Final Four. I love it. Now, it's ballsy. It's ballsy, but I love it. I like it. I really do.
It's very Nate. And look, I think we'll all be disappointed if there's not a Final Four. We'll all be disappointed, but just the problem or the question is, what's the reaction when you don't make it to the Final Four, when you lose in the Elite Eight or Sweet 16? What's the is the reaction? Well, we're just never going to get there with Nate. That's absurd. I mean, that's an absurd take. If that's your take, that's absurd. Nate keeps putting us on the front porch, put us in our first ever Final Four, has repeatedly won the SEC and the SEC tournament. You're not going to trade Nate for someone better than Nate. That's nuts. That's no different. I'm not comparing him to Nick, but it's no different than when Saban left thinking that we're going to bring in somebody better than Nick Saban. That was always going to be impossible. Similarly, I'm telling y'all, impossible to replace Nate with someone as good or better than Nate. It won't happen.
And not only that, we're probably the most fun team in the country to watch.
Yes.
I mean, everybody wants to watch us. I mean, we're fun. And
look, all these kids want to play for us.
Guess what? Braden Burries, who's out in California, he's probably going to announce Friday. He's super secretive. And there's very little info out there, but all he did was just march through the California high school tournament and destroy everybody. He's incredible. He would be awesome in this offense. And It sounds like it's down to Alabama and Arizona, and most people are giving Arizona a hair of a lead, but they're also saying that, hey, Alabama's giving it everything they got. Let's see what happens. It may be an NIL thing. Who knows?
It's amazing that Alabama's in the discussion to that degree for a player of that caliber that's not from here. The player's not from here. All up until Nate. Up until Nate, to some extent Avery, but really up until Nate, Alabama's major recruiting successes came from the state of Alabama or border states, and that's it. Under Nate, Alabama's able to recruit from coast to coast. Why? Nate Oats.
And again, let's just hope he stays. I'll make this prediction. Nate Oats either wins a national championship before or with Alabama. So meaning if he leaves for whatever reason, or he is forced to leave, whatever you want to say, and I don't think any of those things are happening. But if Nate Oats goes somewhere else and he hadn't won a national championship here, I bet he wins wherever he goes versus our winning one before he does.
I agree. If he left, wherever he goes will be more likely to win one than Alabama would. I mean, I don't even think that's too controversial. But Nate Oats is late. I firmly believe this. I've said it on the show many times. I don't believe Nate Oats is ever going to leave Alabama for another college job. I think when Nate Oats leaves, and who knows when that will happen, it could happen this year. When Nate Oats leaves, I think it will be for an NBA job.
I don't want it. Let's not even talk about it anymore. I don't know why I brought it up. Now I'm mad at myself. All right. That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.